The enormous silver ship hung in space like a silent predator. Commander Zorik stood on the observation deck, his 4 eyes blinking as he studied the blue-green planet on the main screen. "So, this is Earth," he said, his scales shifting to a pale yellow of mild disappointment. "Run the scans again." Lieutenant Milar tapped the control panel with one of her tentacles. "Confirmed, Commander. Primitive nuclear fission technology, combustion-based transportation, ongoing regional conflicts, and significant atmospheric pollution." Zorix flicked his tail in dismissal. "Another Category 3 world. Barely worth our time." He turned to his communications officer. "Send the standard greeting package, minimal diplomatic protocols. We'll add them to the Protectorate list and move on." The Galactic Confederation had encountered dozens of developing worlds in their expansion across the stars. Most accepted their place in the cosmic hierarchy without resistance. Earth would be no different. 12,000 miles below, Lisa Morgan floated in the International Space Station's observation module. Her dark hair drifted around her face as she adjusted the communications array. The astronaut had been tracking an unusual signal for 3 days. "Houston, are you seeing this?" she asked, her voice calm despite her racing heart. The signal pattern changed again. In the NASA control room, Dr. Alan Wright hunched over his computer. His fingers flew across the keyboard as he analyzed the incoming data. As the leading xenolinguistics specialist in North America, he had been called in the moment the strange signals were detected. "We see it, Lisa," he replied, pushing his glasses up on his nose. "This isn't random cosmic noise. The pattern is too regular, too structured." The director of NASA stepped forward. "Dr. Wright, are you saying what I think you're saying?" Alan nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. I believe we're receiving a communication from an intelligent non-Earth source." The room fell silent. After centuries of searching the stars, first contact was happening. Within hours, the signal clarified. Images appeared on screens across Earth's major observatories, followed by simple mathematical equations, then increasingly complex language structures. 5 days later, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from every nation gathered in New York as Secretary General Victor Okafor addressed the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face an unprecedented situation," he said, his deep voice steady. "The alien vessel has moved into orbit around our moon. They call themselves the Galactic Confederation and have requested a diplomatic meeting." The Chinese representative stood. "What do they want?" "They say they wish to welcome Earth into their community of worlds," Okafor replied. "They've sent coordinates for a landing site in neutral territory." The room erupted in voices. Fear, excitement, suspicion, all mingled together as humanity faced its first extraterrestrial contact. In his laboratory at Stanford University, Dr. Kevin Harris watched the news with growing concern. As a physicist specializing in propulsion systems, he understood exactly how advanced these visitors must be. "They crossed interstellar space," he murmured to himself. "Whatever they want, we're at a serious disadvantage." The landing site was prepared in a remote area of Switzerland. Military forces from 20 nations formed a perimeter, while a hand-picked delegation of diplomats, scientists, and military leaders waited at the center. Colonel Samantha Collins stood tall despite her nervousness. As former commander of multinational forces and current advisor to the UN Security Council, she had been selected to lead Earth's welcoming committee. Her short blonde hair ruffled in the wind as she watched the sky. "Movement detected," said a voice in her earpiece. "Object descending, southeast quadrant." A sleek vessel, smaller than expected, descended without sound. It was shaped like a teardrop, its surface shimmering with colors that seemed to flow like water. It touched down on the landing pad with perfect precision. For 90 seconds, nothing happened. Then a seam appeared in the side of the craft, widening into a doorway. The alien that emerged walked on 2 legs but was clearly not human. Standing about 7 feet tall, Ambassador Crete had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. His head was elongated, with 4 small eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. He wore what appeared to be a uniform of some metallic fabric that moved like liquid. 2 more aliens followed him, carrying devices that hummed softly. Colonel Collins stepped forward. "On behalf of the people of Earth, I welcome you to our world." Ambassador Creet's mouthparts moved, and a translation device on his chest spoke in perfect English. "The Galactic Confederation acknowledges your greeting." His large eyes blinked in sequence. "We are pleased to find intelligent life developing on this world." Colonel Collins maintained her diplomatic smile, though something in his tone bothered her. "We have much to discuss and learn from each other." "Indeed," Creet replied. "Your species has achieved some modest technological development. You may have potential to serve usefully within our grand community." 1 week later, representatives from the Confederation addressed the United Nations General Assembly. The hall was packed, with billions watching worldwide. Ambassador Creet stood at the podium, flanked by his assistants. "The Confederation encompasses 27 civilizations across this arm of the galaxy. For 50,000 years we have guided developing worlds toward enlightenment." He gestured to a holographic display that appeared above the assembly. Stars and planets rotated, showing the vast reach of their alliance. Earth stands at a crucial juncture. Your technology approaches the threshold of interstellar capability, yet your social structures remain primitive, divided by arbitrary borders and resources. Colonel Collins, seated in the front row, noticed the slight condescension in his tone. "We offer Earth membership as a Category 3 protectorate," Creet continued. "We will provide limited technological assistance, protection from cosmic threats, and guidance toward eventual full membership. In exchange, Earth will contribute resources and accept Confederation advisors in your governments." The terms that followed shocked many delegates. Earth would surrender 40% of its rare minerals, accept severe restrictions on military development, and place key industries under alien supervision. "These terms are standard for worlds at your development stage," Creet said, his tone dismissive of the murmurs in the room. "You have 30 Earth days to reach consensus. Should you decline, Earth will be classified as an isolationist world and left to develop on its own, though we would need to establish a monitoring outpost to ensure you don't become a threat." After the presentation, Colonel Collins approached Dr. Harris, who had been invited as a scientific advisor. "What do you think?" she asked quietly as they left the assembly hall. Kevin shook his head. "They're treating us like children. Did you notice how they avoided answering questions about their propulsion systems?" Collins nodded. "And the way they laughed when I asked about their defensive capabilities." She looked up at the sky, knowing the Confederation ships watched from orbit. "They're hiding something. Or," Kevin said thoughtfully, "they're not as advanced as they want us to believe." The United Nations building buzzed with tension as Ambassador Creet and his delegation sat across from Earth's representatives. Colonel Collins watched the alien's 4 eyes blink in sequence as he examined the room. "Your meeting chambers are quite rustic," Creet said, his translation device giving his words a metallic edge. "We appreciate your effort to make us comfortable." Colonel Collins smiled politely. "We're eager to learn more about the Confederation's technology. Perhaps a mutual exchange would benefit both our peoples." Ambassador Creet made a sound that his translator conveyed as laughter. "An exchange implies equal value on both sides. Your technology is approximately 800 years behind our standard. What could Earth possibly offer?" A muscle twitched in Collins's jaw, but she maintained her diplomatic composure. "Creative thinking, perhaps. Humans have unique problem-solving abilities." "Yes, we've noticed your species does show some cleverness despite your limitations," Creet said. "Let us demonstrate what awaits Earth should you accept our generous protectorate status." One of Creet's assistants activated a device on the table. A 3-dimensional display appeared, showing technologies beyond current human capability. Clean energy systems, advanced medicine, and transportation networks that would revolutionize life on Earth. Dr. Harris studied each demonstration with intense focus, occasionally making notes on his tablet. Something about the presentation bothered him, but he couldn't quite identify what. After the meeting, world leaders gathered in a secure room. Arguments broke out immediately. "We should accept their terms," said the German chancellor. "The benefits are too great to ignore." "And become their servants?" the Brazilian president countered. "They want nearly half our resources." Colonel Collins raised her hand for silence. "Something isn't right. The Confederation is being selective about what they share." Dr. Harris nodded. "They're showing us outcomes without explaining processes. It's like showing a smartphone to someone from the Middle Ages without explaining electronics." The following day, the aliens requested a tour of Earth's military facilities. At a naval base in Virginia, Ambassador Crete and his team examined an aircraft carrier with obvious amusement. "You still use water-based vessels?" Crete asked, his tone making clear his opinion of such primitive technology. "How quaint." Admiral Peter Jones, a 30-year Navy veteran, clenched his fists behind his back. "Aircraft carriers remain effective platforms for projecting force and providing humanitarian aid." "Of course," Crete said, placing a four-fingered hand on the admiral's shoulder. "For primitives, you've done remarkably well. Children take pride in their first drawings, too." The aliens requested similar tours of research facilities. At CERN in Switzerland, they barely glanced at the Large Hadron Collider before declaring it an adorable first step toward understanding particle physics. At NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, they laughed openly at the Mars rover designs. "You spend decades reaching a planet we visit for holiday excursions," one alien scientist commented. After 2 weeks of such tours, Earth's diplomatic team met in secret. "They're breaking us down psychologically," Colonel Collins said, "making us feel inferior so we'll accept their terms without question." Dr. Harris paced the room. "I've been analyzing their technology demonstrations. There's something off about them." "What do you mean?" asked Angela Martinez, the cybersecurity expert recently added to the team. Harris projected his findings onto a screen. "Their demonstrations are polished but lack depth. When I ask technical questions, they deflected. They keep telling us what their technology does but never exactly how it works. Like a magician who won't reveal his tricks," Angela suggested. "Exactly," Harris said. "And I've noticed they get uncomfortable when we ask about certain scientific areas, almost as if they're not as advanced as they claim." Colonel Collins leaned forward. "Are you suggesting they're bluffing?" "Not entirely," Harris replied. "They clearly have superior technology in space travel and energy production, but I think the gap might not be as wide as they want us to believe." Angela tapped her computer. "That might explain what I found. Their ships are constantly scanning our networks, downloading massive amounts of data about our culture, science, and military capabilities. Why would an advanced civilization need so much information about primitives?" Commander Jack Sullivan asked. The naval officer had joined the team after reporting unusual behavior from the aliens during their tour. "Because they're afraid of something," Collins said slowly. "Or someone." That night, a reception was held at the United Nations. The Confederation representatives mingled with Earth's leaders, sampling human food and music with varying degrees of disgust and amusement. "Ambassador," Crete raised a glass in a toast, "to our new friends from Earth. May you quickly advance beyond your charming primitive state." Polite laughter rippled across the room, but many humans exchanged uncomfortable glances. Later, Crete cornered Dr. Harris by the refreshment table. "Your questions during our demonstrations were quite specific, Doctor. You show unusual insight for a human." Harris chose his words carefully. "I'm just trying to understand how our worlds might work together." "Of course," Crete said, his eyes fixed on Harris. "Though I wonder if you understand your place in this relationship. Earth is like a small child learning to walk. The Confederation is a parent, guiding your first steps. Children grow up," Harris replied. "Sometimes faster than expected." Crete's skin briefly flashed a deeper blue. "Yes, well, some need more guidance than others." Across the room, Colonel Collins was confronting a similar conversation with another alien diplomat. "Your terms for Earth's membership seem rather one-sided," she said. 40% of our resources is a significant commitment." The alien waved a dismissive hand. "A fair exchange for elevating your species centuries beyond your natural development." Curve. Without us, you might destroy yourselves before reaching true spacefaring capability. Humans have overcome many challenges throughout our history, Collins countered. We're quite resilient. Yes, you do seem unusually stubborn, the alien agreed. Most species recognize their inferiority more readily. As the evening ended, Harris pulled Collins aside. We need to test something. I think we should agree to one of their technology demonstrations, but insist it be on our terms. What do you have in mind? Collins asked. They've offered to show us their energy production technology. Let's ask them to power up one of our facilities using their methods, but under conditions we control. The next morning, Collins presented the request to Ambassador Crete. The alien's reaction was subtle but unmistakable. His skin darkened momentarily before he regained his composure. Such a demonstration would be difficult, Crete said. Our technologies aren't designed to integrate with your primitive systems. Then perhaps a smaller demonstration, Collins suggested. Something that would help us understand the basic principles. I will consult with my superiors, Crete said stiffly. Some knowledge must be earned over time. As he left, Collins caught Harris's eye across the room. The physicist nodded slightly. They had their answer. They're hiding something, Collins said when they were alone. And we need to find out what before Earth signs away its future. Angela Martinez worked through the night, her eyes fixed on lines of code scrolling across her screen. 3 empty coffee cups sat beside her keyboard. As the leading cybersecurity expert for the United Nations Task Force, she had been monitoring the aliens' communications since they arrived. Gotcha, she whispered, sitting up straight. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, tracing a signal back to its source. The aliens had grown careless. They believed their technology was too advanced for humans to understand, let alone hack. That was their first mistake. Angela picked up her phone and dialed. Colonel Collins, you need to see this, now. 3 hours later, Collins, Harris, and Commander Sullivan gathered in Angela's secure office beneath the UN building. Show them, Collins said. Angela turned her monitor. The aliens are transmitting massive data packets to their ships every night. They've hacked into our systems, but they're not just taking information. She pointed to a complex diagram. They're studying our rate of technological advancement. They seem especially interested in our weapons development, AI research, and space exploration. Why would an advanced civilization care so much about our primitive technology? Commander Sullivan asked. Dr. Harris leaned forward. Because they're afraid of how fast we're developing. He opened his laptop and showed them his own findings. I've been analyzing pieces of their technology they left after demonstrations. Some components aren't as advanced as they should be. What do you mean? Collins asked. Remember their energy demonstration? The components they used were impressive, but not 800 years beyond our technology. Maybe 100 years at most. Commander Sullivan frowned. Are you saying they're lying about their capabilities? Not exactly, Harris replied. Their space travel technology is genuinely advanced, but in other areas the gap is much smaller than they claim. They're using psychological warfare. They want us to feel hopelessly outmatched. Angela nodded. And it gets better. They're using standardized protocols for their communications. Once I identified the pattern, I was able to access some of their unencrypted data. She pulled up a document on her screen. This is a report to their home world about Earth. Look at the section on human physiology. Collins read aloud. The humans display unusual physical attributes that require further study. Their endurance exceeds standard parameters for Class 3 species. More concerning is their aggressive problem-solving approach and adaptability to new situations. Recommend increased caution during integration phase. Commander Sullivan couldn't help but smile. They're worried about us. There's more, Angela said. I found references to other worlds they've contacted. They use the same approach every time. Intimidate the local population with technology demonstrations, demand resources, and establish control. But Earth is different somehow. Dr. Harris nodded. I think I know why. Look at this. He showed them a chart. I compiled data on human technological advancement over the past century. Our rate of progress is exponential compared to what they consider normal. Colonel Collins paced the room. So the Confederation isn't as powerful as they claim, and they see humans as a potential threat because we develop technology too quickly. She stopped. We need more information before we decide what to do. The next day, Collins requested another meeting with Ambassador Crete. The alien arrived with his usual air of superiority, but Dr. Harris noticed a new tension in his movements. Colonel Collins, I hope you've made progress convincing your leaders to accept our generous offer, Crete said. The deadline approaches. We have more questions about the integration process, Collins replied, specifically about how other worlds have adapted to Confederation membership. Crete's skin darkened slightly. Each species follows a similar path. The transition is always smooth for those who understand their place. We'd like to communicate with representatives from other recently admitted worlds, Collins said, to better understand the process. Impossible, Crete said too quickly. The distances are too great and new members need time to develop proper diplomatic protocols. I see, Collins said. Then perhaps you can explain why your ships are downloading so much data about Earth's military capabilities. For a brief moment, all four of Crete's eyes widened. We study all aspects of new civilizations. It helps us determine appropriate assistance levels. After the meeting, Collins gathered her team. They're definitely hiding something. We need to push harder. Over the next week, the human team implemented their plan. Dr. Harris requested detailed technical discussions about specific alien technologies, asking questions that forced the aliens to either reveal more than they wanted or refuse to answer. Commander Sullivan arranged military exercises that showcased human adaptability and unpredictable tactics, making sure the aliens observed them. Angela continued to penetrate deeper into the Confederation's communications network. What she found shocked everyone. The Confederation isn't a unified alliance of equals, she reported. It's more like an empire. The dominant species controls the others through technology restrictions and resource demands. Most member worlds are glorified colonies. And the ones that resist? Collins asked. Are isolated and eventually absorbed anyway, but with harsher terms, Angela said. But here's the interesting part. They've never encountered a species that develops technology as quickly as humans. They consider our rate of advancement dangerous. Dr. Harris had his own breakthrough. After analyzing fragments of alien technology, he discovered that humans had already surpassed the Confederation in several areas without realizing it. Our computer systems are actually more advanced in some ways, he explained. They've focused on different technological paths. Their space travel is superior, but our digital technology is more sophisticated, and our weapons development is advancing faster than anything they've seen. Commander Sullivan studied the reports. So they need our resources, but they're also afraid of our potential. Exactly, Collins said. And I bet other worlds in their so-called Confederation might feel the same way. That night, Dr. Harris couldn't sleep. He went to his lab and examined the alien energy device again. A new idea formed in his mind. If his theory was correct, the device worked on principles not that different from Earth technology, just applied differently. Working through the night, he modified the device, combining it with human components. By morning, he had created a hybrid power source that outperformed both technologies separately. He called Collins immediately. I need to show you something. I think I've found our leverage. When Collins arrived, Harris demonstrated his creation. Their technology isn't magical, it's just different. And when combined with our approaches, it can be improved. We don't need to be their students, we can be their partners. Or their competition. Collins studied the device. This changes everything. How quickly can you develop more examples? With a proper team? A few days. Do it, Collins said. And I'll arrange one more meeting with Ambassador Crete. It's time we showed them who they're really dealing with. As she left the lab, Collins smiled. The aliens had made a critical mistake. They had judged Earth by its apparent technological level, its pollution, and its conflicts. What they failed to understand was the unique nature of humans, their creativity, their determination, and their absolute refusal to be dominated. The Confederation was about to learn that mocking Earth was the worst mistake they could have made. Word spread quickly among world leaders. Over secure channels, a plan formed that would later be called Operation Phoenix. Nations that had fought each other for centuries now worked together against a common threat. Colonel Collins stood before the Emergency Council, her face determined. We need time. Dr. Harris needs at least 2 weeks to develop enough hybrid technology to demonstrate our capabilities. The Secretary General nodded. How do we stall the Confederation without raising suspicion? Cultural exchanges, Collins said. We request extensive meetings to learn about their society before joining. Ambassador Crete is so convinced of their superiority that he'll enjoy lecturing us about their greatness. The plan worked perfectly. The aliens spent days explaining their history and governmental systems, clearly enjoying the chance to showcase their advanced civilization. Meanwhile, Earth prepared its response. In a secured facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Harris led a team of scientists from 27 countries. They worked day and night, combining human innovation with the alien technology they had studied. The Confederation developed along a different technological path than humans, Harris explained to the assembled scientists. They focused on specific areas and ignored others. That's our advantage. In orbit, Commander Sullivan coordinated with space agencies worldwide. Using shuttles and the International Space Station, they assembled components for vessels of a new design. The ships weren't large, but they incorporated both human and alien technology in ways the Confederation wouldn't expect. Keep the construction shielded from their sensors, Sullivan ordered. We need the element of surprise. Angela Martinez led the digital front of Operation Phoenix. Her team created an artificial intelligence system designed to penetrate and analyze the Confederation's communications network. The AI learned quickly, identifying patterns and vulnerabilities in the alien systems. They never expected us to access their network, Angela told Collins during a progress report. Their security is designed to keep out species at similar technological levels to their own. They didn't account for our different approach to computing. 10 days into the operation, Angela made a critical discovery. I've found communications with other subjugated worlds, she reported. Many are unhappy with Confederation rule. Some have been developing resistance movements for decades. Can we contact them? Collins asked. Angela nodded. With some modifications? To our communication systems, yes, but we need to be careful. If the Confederation detects the communications, they might accelerate their plans. Dr. Harris had his own breakthrough. By studying the alien power systems, he developed shields that could block their weapons. The shields weren't perfect, but they would give Earth ships a fighting chance. Their weapons technology isn't as advanced as they claim, he explained. They rely more on intimidation than actual firepower. Most worlds surrender before testing their true capabilities. On the diplomatic front, Colonel Collins continued to engage Ambassador Crete in endless discussions about cultural integration. We want to ensure we understand all aspects of Confederation membership, she explained during one particularly long meeting. Humans value thorough preparation. Crete's patience was clearly wearing thin. These details can be addressed after Earth accepts protectorate status. The deadline is approaching, Colonel Collins. Of course, Ambassador. We simply want to show proper respect for your processes, but the aliens were growing suspicious. Commander Orcs, who had remained in orbit commanding the Confederation fleet, sent a message to Crete. The humans are delaying deliberately, Orcs warned. Our scans detect unusual activity in their space stations and military bases. I recommend we move to Phase 2 immediately. Crete responded, Give me 3 more days. If they haven't agreed to our terms by then, we implement Phase 2. Neither alien realized that Angela's team had intercepted and translated their communication. Phase 2 is likely a show of force, Collins told the Emergency Council. They'll threaten military action to force our compliance. The Secretary General looked grave. Are we ready if they attack? Not completely, Collins admitted. But we've made remarkable progress. Dr. Harris? Harris displayed images of their new technology. We've created working prototypes of hybrid weapons, shields, and communication systems. If we had another month, we could match many of their capabilities. We may not have a month, Sullivan warned. My sources indicate their fleet is repositioning. They're preparing for something. Angela raised her hand. I might have a solution. My team has developed a virus designed specifically for their communication systems. If deployed correctly, it could temporarily disable their fleet's coordination. How? Temporarily? Collins asked. Hours, maybe a day if we're lucky. The Secretary General stood. Make the preparations. If they move against us, we need to be ready. That night, as the leadership team worked on final preparations, a junior communications officer burst into the room. Colonel Collins, Ambassador, Crete has requested an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders tomorrow morning. He says the offer deadline has been moved up. Collins exchanged looks with her team. They know something's happening. We're out of time. The next morning, world leaders gathered in the United Nations General Assembly. Ambassador Crete stood before them, his skin a darker blue than usual. The Confederation has been patient, he began, his tone less friendly than in previous meetings. We have shared knowledge of our great civilization and offered Earth a place among the stars. Yet you continue to delay your decision. The Secretary General spoke calmly. We appreciate the Confederation's offer. Such an important decision requires careful consideration. Your consideration time has ended, Crete announced. Commander Zorix has detected unusual activities suggesting Earth may be pursuing hostile capabilities. This is unacceptable for a Category 3 world. He gestured, and a holographic image appeared above the assembly, showing the Confederation fleet moving into attack positions around Earth. You have 24 hours to accept our terms, Crete said. After that, we will be forced to implement pacification protocols. The room erupted in voices as fear spread through the assembly. Crete stood watching, his 4 eyes blinking in what seemed like satisfaction. Colonel Collins leaned over to Dr. Harris and whispered, Activate Operation Phoenix. We move now. As Crete left the assembly hall, Commander Sullivan received a message on his secure device. It contained one word: launch. In orbit, concealed behind Earth's moon, the first ships of humanity's new defense force prepared to move into position. They weren't many and they weren't large, but they carried technology the Confederation wasn't expecting. On the ground, Angela gave the order to activate her AI system. It would take hours to penetrate the Confederation's main communication network, but once inside, it would broadcast the truth to every world under their control. As night fell over New York, Dr. Harris made final adjustments to the demonstration device he would show the aliens the next day. Looking out the window at the stars, he wondered if the Confederation had any idea what they had awakened on this small blue planet. They had mocked Earth. Soon they would learn exactly who lived there. Morning arrived with an ominous silence. The Confederation ships had moved into position around Earth during the night, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight as they waited for the deadline to expire. In the United Nations building, world leaders gathered for what the aliens believed would be Earth's surrender. Ambassador Crete stood before them, his posture radiating confidence. Has Earth reached its decision? He asked, looking at the assembled humans with his 4 eyes. The Secretary General nodded. We have, Ambassador Crete. Colonel Collins will deliver our response. Crete's skin rippled with surprise as Collins stepped forward. She was not supposed to be the spokesperson for Earth's surrender. Ambassador Crete, Collins began, her voice calm and measured. Earth appreciates the Confederation's offer of membership. However, we believe there has been a misunderstanding about the nature of our relationship. Crete's translator device made a sharp sound. There is no misunderstanding. Earth will join as a Category 3 protectorate or face consequences. Before we continue, Collins said, we request one final meeting aboard your flagship with Commander Zorix present. Earth's response requires direct communication with your highest authority in this system. The alien's eyes blinked rapidly. That is not protocol for Category 3 worlds. Perhaps Earth is not a typical Category 3 world, Collins replied. After a brief communication with the orbiting fleet, Crete reluctantly agreed. You may bring 3 representatives. Commander Zorix will receive you in 1 hour. As the meeting adjourned, Dr. Harris approached Collins. Everything is ready. Angela's AI system is in position and Commander Sullivan's fleet is standing by. Collins nodded. Remember the plan. We only get one chance at this. 1 hour later, a small Confederation shuttle carried Collins, Harris, and Angela toward the alien flagship. Through the viewport, they could see Earth below, beautiful and blue against the blackness of space. They chose this position deliberately, Harris noted, to make us feel small and vulnerable. That's about to change, Collins said. The shuttle docked with the massive Confederation vessel. Inside, the corridors were eerily silent as alien crew members watched the humans pass. They were led to a large chamber where Commander Zorix waited. The commander was taller than Crete, his skin a deeper blue and covered with what looked like ceremonial markings. His uniform displayed symbols of rank and achievement. Earth representatives, Zorix said, not bothering to rise from his raised seat. I understand you wish to deliver your response directly. Yes, Commander, Collins replied. But first, we have questions about your operations in other star systems. Zorix made a dismissive gesture. Irrelevant. Your decision is the only matter at hand. We disagree, Collins said firmly. Our investigation suggests the Confederation has been less than honest about its practices and capabilities. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across the alien commander's face. What investigation? Your primitive technology cannot possibly understand your communications. Access your networks, study your technology? Collins interrupted. I think you've underestimated humans, Commander. She nodded to Angela, who pulled out a small device and activated it. Suddenly, the room's holographic displays came to life, showing data streaming across multiple screens. This is impossible, Crete said, stepping back in shock. Dr. Harris stepped forward. We've been studying your technology since you arrived. Your demonstrations were impressive, but hardly 800 years beyond our capabilities. You've been judging Earth by its outward appearance, Collins continued, by our pollution and our conflicts. You never bothered to understand who humans really are. Angela's device beeped, and she gave Collins a quick nod. The signal was working. The AI system had penetrated the flagship's communications network. Commander, Zorix rose from his seat, his massive frame tense with anger. This changes nothing. Our fleet surrounds your world. You will comply or face consequences. About that fleet, Collins said calmly. Commander Sullivan, if you please. For a moment, nothing happened. Then alarms began to sound throughout the ship. One of Zorix's officers rushed into the room. Commander, unknown vessels have appeared around our fleet. They were hidden behind the human's moon. The main display showed the scene. 24 small Earth ships had moved into strategic positions around the Confederation fleet. They weren't large enough to threaten the alien vessels, but their sudden appearance was shocking enough. Primitive human tricks, Zorix snarled. Those small craft cannot harm our ships. Perhaps not alone, Harris agreed. But technology can be combined in interesting ways. On cue, the Earth vessels activated their hybrid shields. Energy fields unlike anything the Confederation had seen before enveloped the small ships. Impossible, Crete whispered. Those are modified versions of our own shield technology. Improved versions, Harris corrected, combined with human approaches your scientists never considered. Angela's device beeped again. The AI has full access to their network now, she said to Collins. Broadcasting in 3, 2, 1, across the Confederation fleet and throughout. Their vast network spanning dozens of star systems, a signal spread. It carried evidence of the Confederation's true practices, the exploitation of resources, the subjugation of worlds through deception, the exaggeration of their technological superiority. But more importantly, it carried proof that resistance was possible, that humans had found weaknesses in Confederation technology and improved upon it within weeks of exposure. On the flagship's main screen, reports began flooding in from other worlds in the Confederation. Questions, demands, signs of rebellion. Commander, Zorix's skin had darkened to a deep navy blue. What have you done? He demanded. We've shared the truth, Collins replied simply. something you should have considered before attempting to conquer Earth through intimidation. The Confederation will crush this rebellion, Zorix threatened, beginning with Earth. I wouldn't recommend that, Harris said. He pulled out a small device of his own. This contains the schematics for a weapon we developed by studying your energy technology. We've already installed prototypes on our defense platforms. They can penetrate your shields because they operate on principles your scientists overlooked, Angela added. And my AI system now controls your fleet's communication network. Your ships cannot coordinate an attack without us knowing every move in advance. For the first time, true fear showed in the alien commander's eyes. He looked from the humans to his displays, which showed growing chaos throughout the Confederation network. What do you want? He finally asked. A true alliance, Collins said. Not one based on dominance and exploitation, but on mutual respect and benefit. Earth will not be a protectorate. We will be equals. And the other worlds in the Confederation must be given the same choice, Angela added. Commander Zorix stared at the humans before him, finally understanding the truth. The Confederation had made a terrible mistake. They had judged Earth by its apparent technological level, by its environmental problems, by its political divisions. They had failed to recognize what truly defined humanity: adaptability, creativity, and an unbreakable will. You have one day to consider our terms, Collins said, echoing the ultimatum they had received. We trust you will make the right decision. As the humans turned to leave, Ambassador Crete found his voice again. How? He asked. How did you develop these technologies so quickly? Dr. Harris paused at the door. Because that's what humans do, Ambassador. We adapt. We learn. We overcome challenges. You showed us the stars and expected us to kneel in gratitude. Instead, we looked at your technology and thought, we can improve this. Back on Earth, people watched the skies nervously, not knowing what was happening in orbit. Then, as night fell across North America, the Confederation fleet began to move. Not to attack positions, but away from Earth, leaving only 3 vessels in orbit. The next day, Commander Zorix himself stood before the United Nations General Assembly. His tone was different now. Gone was the condescension, replaced by cautious respect. The Confederation proposes a new relationship with Earth, he announced, not as rulers and subjects, but as partners exploring the galaxy together. Across the stars, a new order was forming, one based on mutual respect rather than intimidation, and at the center of this change was a small blue planet that had been judged too quickly and underestimated too greatly. They had mocked Earth until they realized humans lived there. They would not make that mistake again.